Morning, everyone. Welcome to the Rapid City Planning Commission meeting for March 6th, 2025. If any member of the audience wishes to speak to an item on the Planning Commission agenda today, there are speaker request forms on the table along the left wall. Please fill out the request with the agenda number of the item you wish to speak to and hand it to the staff seated on the left of the dais. At this time, we would also like to ask that if any member of the audience has a cell phone or other electronic device, that you either turn it off or turn the ringer to silent. If you need to take a call, please step out to the hallway so the meeting is not disrupted. Items 1 through 6 have been placed on the consent calendar today and may be approved as a group. Action will be taken on all consent items in accordance with staff's recommendation by a single vote. Any item may be removed from the consent calendar by any planning commissioner, staff member, or audience member for separate consideration at this time. The findings of this planning commission are recommendations to the city council. The city council will make the final decision with the exception of the following item. Item 4, 24PD003. The Rapid City Planning Commission action on this item is final unless any party appeals that decision to the Rapid City Council. All appeals must be submitted in writing to the Department of Community Development by close of business on the 7th full calendar day following action by the Planning Commission. Are there any items 1 through 6 that staff would like removed?
No, thank you.
Are there any items 1 through 6 that any planning commissioner would like removed for separate consideration?
2 and 4, please.
Okay, 2 and 4. And are there any items 1 through 6 that any audience member would like removed? This says item number 1. Mark, is that? But item number 1 is our minutes from the last. This would be for the Block 5 one? Okay, got it. All right. Anything from the audience for 1, 3, 5, or 6? All right. The chair would then entertain a motion to approve items 1 through 6 with the exception of items 2 and 4.
Motion to approve items 1 through 6 with the exceptions of items 2 and 4.
All right. Is there a second? Okay. Vince made the motion. Mike Kwasny seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Item number 2. Mike, maybe I could recognize you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple questions on item 2. This reminds me of our Sheridan Lake area where we put housing in an area that's forested and we don't have second access. I know that the 40 unit rule, we are recommending the second access, and if not, they have to have fire suppression, or maybe they have to have fire suppression anyhow because where it's located. What I'm asking, I guess, is that they really consider, if it goes to council, how do we make sure that they consider strongly that this is second access, how important that is for this area? And the second, if they have water, because it's on a private water system, a lot of times those private water systems can't handle even the water for the community, let alone for a fire system in the houses. So those are the 2 questions that I have, and I don't know who I need to direct those to.
Vicki?
Thank you. Excellent comments, and you are correct for this plat to proceed. And remember, a preliminary subdivision plan is a what if. If I plat, what do I need to do? And as the stipulations identify, they will need to secure an exception to the 40 unit rule. Because this property is outside the city limits, not only will they need an exception from city council, staff cannot administratively approve those, and it can only be approved by city council. They will also need to secure a zoning exception to the 40 unit rule that the county has adopted. So they have to go through 2 boards in order to get that allowance. In this case, there is a community water system in the area. If they want to advance, they will need to bring in documentation that they are concurring to provide this service. And surprisingly, Chip isn't here. He must be running a little late today. But it doesn't take a lot of fire flow in order for fire suppression systems to work inside these residential areas. So he would make the debate that this is especially needed because we don't have hydrants in the area and can provide that type of fire flow protection. There is also a requirement that the building material of the structure be fire retardant to the highest degree possible.
With the fires that we saw go on in California, I just think it's highly important that we adhere to whatever we can do to make sure that doesn't happen in our community. So that's why I bring these forward.
Also, there is a fire mitigation plan that's needed, so if there's any dead fuel laying on the property, that would have to be picked up as well. And may I add, this one is somewhat unique. When you look at this lot being created, there is an unplatted balance that is bisected by other platting that's gone on. So this is kind of a standalone parcel anyway. And in doing this, we do make it usable. It's certainly of sufficient size to be able to support a residential development. We're not creating a new parcel. It's just taking this unplatted parcel and making it a lot so that the ownership can be transferred.
Okay. Well, thank you. I have my questions presented, so thank you.
Did you wish to speak to anything on this, or just setting up in case?
Just setting up.
Okay. Anything else on item number 2 from the commission?
I'll move approval of, with stipulations.
Okay.
And I'll second it.
Karen moved approval with stipulations. Vince seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion? Eric Hikas, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would echo Michael's comments. This is climate action. This is bigger than just our city and our county. These kind of decisions that would put people in harm's way in case of a fire or emergency event, these are far-reaching. So that's kudos to you, Mike, for this comprehensive comments. Thank you.
All right, anything else on the motion on item 2? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, I'll go back to you on this one again, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess what I am reading that this is a controlled where they will help individuals who are struggling with drug abuse, etc., and it's all voluntary. I guess the question I would have is, if this changes, i.e. they do take in people from the that are demanded to have some kind of, does it change? Do they have to come before us again to have this changed?
Vicki?
If there was a nudge from the judge that required detention for treatment, then that would be a detention facility, not a treatment facility. You are approving a treatment facility, and in doing that, these are voluntary patients or clients that would be participating. Changing that operational plan, and we are recommending that you approve this specific to the operational plan presented. A change in that operational plan would require a major amendment, and Planning Commission would have to take action on it.
Okay, that was my concern, and I happen to know that there's an area real close to this that's being developed for a special project for our community, and I don't know that it would be conducive to what's going in there, so that was my concern.
Mr. Chair,
Vicki?
I think that's a great comment, and the applicants did a good job bringing in an operational plan, defining exactly how this is going to operate. That was one of our concerns as well. We want to ensure that it does not operate as a detention facility. They're not actually increasing the number of residents. It's just the allowance of residents within the facility that have this substance abuse issue. They then can get the treatment there instead of having to go someplace else.
Is this still operated by the hospital? Just at one point it was owned by the hospital, this land was, so.
Is the applicant in the audience? If you could answer that.
Once you're up at the can you go to the microphone and identify yourself?
Yeah. Is it both? All right. What was your question again? I'm sorry.
Is this operated by the hospital? And I think you need to state your name and.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Ryan Letterman with RMD Recovery.
Okay.
No, it is not. We're not associated with Monument, although I have talked to Dr. Tamang at Monument, and he's in full support of what we're doing here.
Okay.
But it's not affiliated.
Does Monument still own the land then? And you're just leasing it or?
Yeah, we signed a lease to purchase agreement.
Okay. Thank you. That's the only question I have is the concern as the property next to it moves forward with what's going in there. I just wanted to make sure that we were securing all the necessary items so that it's safe for the whole area. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Any other questions on item 4? Comments? All right. Mike Gallagher made the motion to approve with the stipulations listed. And Vince seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7. And item number 7, Mike Kwasny is going to be abstaining from this item.
All right. Good morning. My name is Jennifer Bergstrom, Special Projects Planner. Item 25 PD 001 is a request for a major amendment to a planned development overlay at the property at 525 St. Joseph Street. This property is located on the corner of St. Joseph Street and 5th Street downtown. There is currently a mixed-use development being constructed on this property that encompasses nearly the entire 1.37 acre property and stands 10 stories in height. There are multiple uses included within this development, including hotel, residential apartment, conference center space, retail space, and a parking garage. The requested amendment is for a revised sign package, which includes 3 exceptions, all having to do with the signage. This property is located in the Central Business Zoning District. The future land use plan shows this property as public, quasi-public, and this is due to the fact that this property was once a city-owned parking lot. The major street plan shows 2 principal arterial streets adjoining this property on both St. Joseph Street and 5th Street. And approximately the west half of the property is located within the downtown historic district and its historic environs. And consequently, any proposed signage within these areas is required to go before the Historic Sign Review Committee prior to sign permits being approved for this property. The proposed sign package includes a total of 23 signs, consisting of 16 wall signs and 7 pedestrian-oriented signs. The first exception being requested today is to allow for an additional amount of wall sign square footage. The request is to increase from the 425 square feet allowed by sign code to the 619 square feet of wall signage being proposed. The first set of proposed wall signs includes the 5 Hyatt Place hotel signs. These include 2 large Hyatt wall signs that are both placed on the north side of the property along St. Joseph Street. And you can see one of these wall signs will face directly to the north towards St. Joseph Street, and the other sign G will face to the east towards 5th Street. There are also 3 smaller wall signs included that will be located on the awning above the north entrance to the Hyatt Place Hotel. All 5 of these signs are consisting of internally lit channel letters. And these 5 signs have already been approved by the Historic Sign Review Committee due to the fact that there were no exceptions required for these signs. The remainder of the sign package will still need to go before the Historic Sign Review Committee for approval if this amendment is approved here today. The second set of wall signs being proposed are 2 conference center signs. These will be placed above the conference center space entrance on the northeastern corner of the structure. So these will be facing both 5th Street as well as St. Joseph Street. And these are also made of internally lit channel letters. The next set of wall signs includes 2 directional signs to be placed above the exit entrance locations to the parking garage. These locations will be accessed off of 5th Street to the east and to the south from the alleyway behind the structure. Again, these will consist of internally lit channel letters. The next set of wall signs includes 7 awning signs. These signs will be installed directly upon the awnings that are above each of the 6 retail spaces, as well as the apartment leasing office, that are located both on the north and the west sides of the structure. So these will be facing to St. Joseph Street in the north and to 6th Street on the west. The second exception that's being requested here is to allow for these awning signs to project from the surface of the awning itself. The sign code states that wall signage shall not extend beyond the plane of the wall to which it is mounted. Therefore, an exception is needed to allow these signs to project from that surface. These signs, all 7, will be consisting of internally lit channel letters. However, the design is not yet known, as each sign will be proposed by the retail tenants as they occupy the space. There is, however, one sign that we do know the design already, which is the retail space called Tostique, and you can see the design of that sign in the pictures below. These awning signs match the design and the architecture of the structure, and they will help to provide a cohesive sign style amongst all of the retail spaces on the building. The final set of signs being proposed includes 7 pedestrian-oriented signs. A pedestrian-oriented sign is a sign that will be allowed to project from the side of the building over the sidewalk to directly advertise to pedestrians. These 7 pedestrian signs make up the 3rd exception that is being requested, which is to allow for 7 when the sign code only allows for 2. The sign code allows for 1 pedestrian-oriented sign per street-facing side of the structure. Therefore, an exception is needed to allow for 7, to allow for each retail space and the apartment leasing office to each have their own pedestrian-oriented sign. These signs will be allowed to be a maximum of 8 square feet in size and allowed to project up to 5 feet from the side of the building. This is a picture looking at the north side of the building along St. Joseph Street. These pictures are looking at both the east and the west sides of the structure. These pictures are looking at the south side of the building along the alleyway and also at the mixed-use commercial properties across the alley to the south. There's also mixed-use commercial property to the north across St. Joseph Street. And looking east across 5th Street to the fast food restaurant. And then also looking north and south up and down 5th Street. Looking north and south down 6th Street to the west side of the structure. and looking at the mixed-use commercial properties located to the west of the structure across 6th Street, and also a picture of the required notice sign that is posted on the property. Due to the size of this development, staff supports this requested major amendment. The request for increased signage is appropriate for a structure of this size. The proposed signs will not look cluttered at this scale, and the directional signage is important to help to direct both the pedestrian traffic and the vehicle traffic navigating this structure. The proposed sign package is in harmony with the surrounding area and is overall generally consistent with the goals and objectives of the city's comprehensive plan, as well as the guidelines of the sign code. And with that, staff recommends approval of this major amendment with the stated stipulations. We do have a representative of the applicant in the audience here today to answer any questions if needed. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Vicki?
If I might, can you help me understand? I believe that some of these signs have already gone before the Historic Preservation Commission for consideration.
Yes, those are the 5 Hyatt signs. I'll bring those up here. Just these 5 Hyatt signs have gone before the Historic Sign Review Committee, and that is because these signs did not require any exceptions. Now, the remainder of the package will still be required to go before the Historic Sign Review Committee if this amendment were to be approved.
Thank you. So we all know this project is Block 5, and it takes up the whole north half of the block, and just the substance of the activities within the building do create a unique situation where additional signage is needed to help those of us who want to enter the building to know where to go and what business that we're going to be entering. Some of you probably have walked downtown and you have 3 doors in a row and you have to kind of back up towards the street and look up to see where the sign is to the door you want to go into. So those pedestrian-oriented signs, those that are allowed to project off the wall, those are really important so that you know which door you're going into is the correct business that you want to enter. Overall, I think that we've seen similar type of signage on some of our larger projects, such as the Monument Hospital. They've got a lot of signage there. Just the massness of the building alone and the different services that are being offered within these large structures. So while we are very limited in supporting additional signage, this is one of those instances that we did feel that it met the needs of the owners as well as those that want to go to this facility to know which door to enter.
All right. Thank you. We've got a couple commissioners up. There is a request from the applicant. Would the commissioners like to hear that first? Okay. Mark Kwasny, if you'd like to come up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mark Kwasny, President of Development with Lloyd Companies. I don't have too much to add. Your staff's covered it well. I just want to say thank you for your consideration on this item. I think Vicki and Jenny have done a great job of explaining the reasoning behind it, and I just stand by for questions.
Thank you. Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think Vicki pretty much answered my question, but just to be clear, so the request is to have one surface mount sign per suite as well as a projected per suite. So each suite gets 2 forms of signage, is that correct? Okay. And that, the suite occupant wouldn't have the option of one or the other, would they? I mean, this is a owner-based sign package, I'm assuming, like all or none?
Mr. Chair.
Vicki?
So this is kind of giving it that blanket approval. Potentially a tenant would say, we only want this one, we don't want this one. But more than likely, if they have a signage that is considered a wall sign, they're still going to want that pedestrian sign because there's so many entry doors along St. Joe.
Right.
To help people know which door to go into. They're probably going to need both.
Gotcha, okay, thank you.
Eric Hikas?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well said, Vicki. The comment that, I've seen the building from the road, but then I'm a pedestrian, so then I got to go back and get my orientation. So I think this is a comprehensive and cohesive package. Just the visuals really have me kind convinced that this is needed. Thank you for Lloyd and for the Special Projects Coordinator. This falls under the Society of Environmental Graphic Design's wheelhouse. If there is a profession that does this, so I'm sure they would also be proud of this as well. I'm going to be supporting this.
Vince?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So looking at the signs that are on the north and west, and one of them looks like it was already for one of the businesses, Tostique, that is going to go there. So that's matching the building's colors and design, it looks like. So are those already pre-approved by the Historic Society?
Those will still need to go before the Historic Sign Review Committee for review and approval.
Okay, thank you.
Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I comment, it's similar to Eric's in the fact that when they first started building this building and I drove down the street and went, wow, it's so close to the street. How do you know what's going on in there, you know? And it just looked like a big blank wall. And I think signage is going to make a lot of difference because now it feels like it's part of the city and it's going to make you feel like, okay, I know where I'm going. And so I think the project is coming along really well. It looks nice. And so I think the signage should be really good.
Yeah, I'm just going to chime in. When I first read the item, a more than 50% increase to the allowed signage, I mean, that was kind of like, interesting. But when you see it on the building, it does not look out of place. Just to be me, I'll be a little bit cranky. I will say we may want to consider whether our numbers for downtown signage is still appropriate, because some of these buildings only have 25 feet of frontage. They have very small signs allowed under code, and no matter how good this signage looks, it's still hard for me to say, well, this one deserves 50% more square feet than this other one that doesn't have the benefit of the scale. But this item, I'm totally fine with. Anything else on the item 7?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right. Vince made the motion with the stipulations.
With the stipulations, yes.
And Eric made the second. All right. All right. Any discussion on the motion to approve? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8.
Good morning, Kip Harrington, Long Range Planning. Item number 8 is 25 PD 002, which is a major amendment to a plan development overlay to allow an expansion of the Pennington County Jail. The property is located at 307 St. Joseph Street, consists of approximately 2.74 acres. The property is zoned public district. It is also right across the street from urban commercial district. Future land use of the property is downtown, and it is located along St. Joseph Street, which is classified as a principal arterial street on the city's major street plan. So the purpose of this project is to expand the Pennington County Jail east of the existing jail. The proposed addition will consist of up to additional 600 beds, doubling the capacity from 600 to 1,200 beds in the Pennington County Jail. And so as our community continues to grow, the Pennington County Complex, Public Safety Complex, anticipates a need to expand their operations. The proposed addition will be 5 stories tall and will contain the first 2 floors of officer stations, some cells, and some program and recreational sites. And the upper 3 floors have a flexible configuration allowing approximately 110 to 148 beds per floor. There are some additional modifications that are proposed as well with the existing jail, including some upgrades to the medical facilities. So looking at the site plan here, one thing you'll notice right here is there is a proposed Sally Port, which is an enclosed area that can be used for the transfer of detainees. That right now has been located in the public right-of-way, which has since been vacated by the City Council at their February 3rd meeting. And the purpose for the Sally Port, again, is to increase the safety and security of transfer of detainees into and out of the Pennington County Jail. This does require a 0-foot setback, so that is one of the first exceptions required, as it is right up against the property line. So that is one of the first exceptions that they're requested. We really support this because right now, for buses entering and exiting the Pennington County Jail facility, it basically blocks St. Joseph Street because they have to come in a head-on manner. So this would allow for the buses to enter and exit in one direction and really keep the traffic flow going, and again, increase the safety and security of the detainee transfer process. The next exception they're requesting is for fencing. Fencing currently exists on the property that was previously approved on file 18 PD014. That allows for an 8-foot fence in the front yard in lieu of a 4-foot fence. And again, that is for safety security purposes, and also some internal fencing within the property of a height up to 12 feet instead of the allowed 6 feet. And again, these are to allow for the security of the property and make it harder for people to climb fences if someone were to get loose. Again, we talked about the height of 5 stories. This maximum in public district is 4 stories and 45 feet. They are requesting an exception to go to 5 stories and 127 feet 6 inches, which basically matches the configuration of the existing jail. Those are the exceptions being requested. Some other things we took a look at is parking requirements. This would result in a decrease of 51 parking spaces. However, on the last plan development, which I said is 18 PD014, a parking study was done on the Pennington County Public Safety Complex, and it identified that there was sufficient parking and additional parking for all purposes on that area. So this would not result in a shortage of parking. They would still have a surplus of parking, even with a decrease of 51 spaces. They'll have some spaces on the facility, and then, of course, this is located directly adjacent to the Pennington County parking garage, so there's plenty of room for parking. The building itself will be made of precast concrete with a dark bronze anodized metal accents that should complement the existing jail facility very well. And the construction of this addition will decrease the landscaping by 10 shrubs and 122 square yards of grass. However, sufficient landscape points do currently exist on the property and will continue to exist after the construction of this proposed facility. I don't believe the applicant has anyone here. Is that correct? Is anybody here for this? But staff does recommend approval. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to go to site photos. Yeah, thank you, Vicki. I'm sorry, I got a little ahead of myself. So this is the proposed elevation on the north side, which will be facing St. Joseph Street. So you can see how this relates to the current Pennington County courthouse right here, a little taller. This is the east side, so this will be facing the parking garage. This is the south side, which will be facing the alley. Well, this thing is touchy today. And this is the west side, which will be adjacent to the Pennington County courthouse. Looking at some site photos, this is looking at the proposed area of the expansion. The current jail is located right here, and the courthouse is there. And so it'll go in this area where this parking lot is, and again, adjacent to the parking garage. This is looking down St. Joseph Street to the east. You can see the new Elements apartment building right there. This is looking down St. Joseph Street to the west towards downtown. And this is looking across St. Joseph Street at the parking lot that exists currently there. So with that, staff does recommend approval of this project with the stipulations as outlined in the staff report, and I will stand for any questions.
Kip, can you explain the Sally Port in relation to St. Joseph Street?
Sure, I can go back to that. It's kind of hard to see on their site plan, but I'll try to do my best. So the Sally Port is located right here.
Yeah.
St. Joseph Street is located right here. So they will have a driveway that comes in off of St. Joseph Street, enters the Sally Port. They will have room to detain or move detainees. I believe there's some parking spaces in there for like buses or like vans and things like that to facilitate that. And then the bus will then exit the Sally Port heading east and then come back out onto St. Joseph Street.
Is the continuity of the sidewalk maintained across the new entrance?
Yeah, so they will actually have to shift the sidewalk a little bit to the north along St. Joseph Street. But yeah, it's hard to see on this again, but the sidewalk does crosses this entrance and then runs along St. Joseph Street and then goes back to its original configuration. And you can see that on this site photo here. So this is about where the Sally Port will be. And so this sidewalk will move out more close to St. Joseph Street. But part of that was the vacation of the right-of-way on St. Joseph Street to allow for the Sally Port and the sidewalk to have room to be constructed.
And I can see it on the sign there barely. The parking there, that parking lane is non-public currently.
That's
right?
correct. It is currently signed as police parking only.
Okay. Sorry to jump in with questions. Mike Kwasny, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I have some concerns on the parking because I have been on a grand jury and I did have a little struggle finding parking. I know that there was a study done. Does the city, or do they own any other spots where if we find that there is trouble with parking, that they can put additional parking? I.e., do they own a piece of property adjacent here someplace?
That's a great question. Yes, Pennington County does own considerable property in this area. They have recently purchased just down the street the old First Interstate Bank building, I believe, and then where the old Lamplighter Inn. There's also a parking lot there after that was demolished, so that is also owned by the county. So they do have some room for overflow parking to the east of this.
Okay, well, I think parking could be a problem here. I think this is an excellent addition. I think that the sheriff and Laura Retzel has done a lot of things with repeat offenders, and I think there's a true need for this. So I would make a motion to approve.
Okay. With the stipulations?
With stipulations, please.
All right. Mike Kwasny made the motion as he stated. Is there a second to it? Second. Karen seconded that motion. All right. Further discussion? Vince?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, actually, your question regarding the Sallyport were some of my thoughts, or I needed that clarification, but you already got that clarified for me. Thank you.
All right. Anything else from the commission on this one? The motion on the floor is to approve with stipulations. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9.
Good morning, Chair, Planning Commission, Cassie Hayes. Item number 9 before you is conditional use permit 25 UR 003. This is a conditional use permit to allow on-sale liquor in conjunction with a restaurant. So we are here at 2120 West Main Street, across the street from Bacon Park. This property is currently zoned general commercial district. Future land use is mixed use commercial. And this property takes access directly off of West Main Street, which is classified as a principal arterial street on the city's major street plan. What they are doing here is they have brought in a new restaurant into one of the suites within the 2 multi-tenant commercial buildings that already exist on this property. This restaurant occupies suite number 4 within the easternmost building, and it is called Old School Sliders. You may have potentially seen the sign. This business is already in operation. What they are proposing to do here is to serve beer to accompany the cuisine that is available at the restaurant. The restaurant does operate Monday and Tuesday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. and Wednesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. They do intend or hope at some point to extend those operating hours to be 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. But currently they have those more reduced hours on Monday and Tuesday. What they will be serving here is canned beer and draft beer from a tap. The canned beer will be stored in a locked cooler that's located in the back of the house, as you can see back here. The tap beer will be served at the front counter with the taps located behind the counter. So you can see right here, this is their serving counter. The tap beer, like I said, will be kept behind the bar, and they will not be serving wine or hard liquor at this restaurant, currently beer only. So this property is located within an established commercial area, like I said, directly across the street from Bacon Park. The nearest residential use or residentially zoned property is located approximately 695 feet southwest of this property on Dakota Drive. So this use is sufficiently buffered from residential areas, which is one of the things that we look at with these on-sale liquor establishments. There also does not appear to be a place for religious assembly, a school, a park, or a playground within a 500-foot radius, which is another criteria that we look at for these on-sale liquor uses. So as I said, this is operated within an existing structure in conjunction with an existing restaurant. There are several other restaurants or on-sale liquor uses in this area, but this being in conjunction with something that is interior to the structure, it does not seem that it would be out of character for the neighborhood or cause blight or an excess amount of on-sale liquor uses in this area, nor should it have a negative impact on the surrounding neighborhoods. So here is, if the computer will cooperate. So here is where Old School Sliders is currently located. You can see it's located right next to Puffy's. This is the only suite that they operate in. They only operate in suite number 4, which is approximately 1,000 square feet. This is looking towards their parking lot and the entrance to that lot. You can see Culver's is directly across West Main Street there. This is looking at more of their parking lot. I do want to point out that this parking lot has about 80 parking spaces currently, and it is shared between both of the multi-tenant buildings that are located on this property. However, as you can see, there is sufficient parking on other properties as well that could be used in this case also, if the need were to arise. This is looking a little bit more towards the west at the area that abuts this property, which is a flood hazard zone, undeveloped, largely encumbered by floodway. There you can see that they have posted signage to meet public notification requirements. And you can also see the signage that they have in their windows as well. So staff did look at this. We are ultimately recommending approval with the conditions noted in the staff report, and I will stand for any questions.
All right, thanks. Eric Hikas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Seems straightforward to me. Move approval with stipulations.
All right, is there a second to Eric's motion? Alicia, I think. Okay, motion on the floor is to approve. Any comments on the motion? Questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10.
Item number 10 is your next conditional use permit for on-sale liquor. This is conditional use permit 25 UR004. This is to allow on-sale liquor in conjunction with an event space. We are now up on Hope Court off of Catron and Mount Rushmore. This property is zoned general commercial district as well. Future land use of this property is mixed use commercial. Currently, it takes access off of Hope Court, which is classified as a commercial street on the city's, or per the infrastructure design criteria manual, Hope Court takes access off of Promise Road, which is classified as a collector street on the city's major street plan. What they are building up here is they are currently building a hotel, the Clubhouse Hotel and Suites. That is a building permit that was acquired in 2022 or 2023. They are currently in the process of constructing this hotel. What they are wanting to do here is to serve beer, wine, and cocktail selections for private events only. So things like weddings, corporate functions, or other social occasions or celebrations that might occur at the hotel. They are going to offer this, like I said, only for private events, not open to the public. And the hours of operation will be based upon the events that come in and the request of the clients. The alcoholic beverages will be served by trained staff only at a portable bar that will come out for each event. When their events are not taking place, the alcohol is stored in a specified locked storage area. They do have security cameras that will be installed to cover all the exits and the corridors that lead to exit and storage doors to make sure that people are not taking those alcoholic beverages off site or anything along those lines. This property is located in a developing commercial area. There does not appear to be a park, school, playground, or religious worship facility within a 500-foot radius. I do want to point out the nearest residentially zoned property to this is about 880 feet east across Mount Rushmore Road, but there is actually a residential use that is adjacent to this property across Promise Road. That property is zoned general agriculture district, but it does have a single family dwelling on it. That single family dwelling does sit about 510 feet northwest of this property, but I do want to point that out. There are also 2 existing on-sale liquor establishments in very close proximity to this. Bin 605 is south of this property, right across Hope Court. And then WR Restaurant, if you recall, about a month, 6 weeks ago, we saw an on-sale liquor use for WR Restaurant, which is being constructed directly north of this property as well. However, with this use being something for private events only, does not appear to be something that would cause an excess amount of on-sale liquor use in this area. The surrounding properties here are developed mostly with a mix of commercial, office, and medical uses. Like I said, this property takes access from the cul-de-sac on Hope Court, and sufficient parking does seem to be provided on this property per the building permit that was approved. This use does contribute to the mix of developing commercial uses that are going up in this area, and it does add some vitality along this Mount Rushmore Road corridor, which the comprehensive plan does identify as a major entryway to the city. So this does show you where the on-sale liquor use will occur. So they do have an event space over here where they would be serving the alcoholic beverages. This right here is also their area, like their breakfast area, their seating area. They did include that in here as well, just in case in some of the events occur in that space as well. This is some elevations of the hotel that is currently being built. Again, some more elevations. This is looking at the hotel off of the cul-de-sac of Hope Court. You can see there they also have their signage for public notification. This is looking west down Hope Court. This is looking east down Hope Court as well. You can see that Security First Bank, that takes access off of that cul-de-sac as well. This is looking across Hope Court. You can see bin 605 right there, so you can kind of identify the proximity to bin 605. So staff is ultimately recommending approval of this conditional use permit as well, with the stipulations noted in the staff report, and I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff on this? Thought it was pretty well explained. Karen?
Motion to approve with stipulations.
Okay, Vince made the motion to approve with stipulations. Karen seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion to approve? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11.
Chair, Commission, good morning. This is Jessica Olson, current planning. I'm going to apologize. My throat is getting a little froggy, so I might break my voice a little bit. So this is a conditional use permit, 24 UR 024. This is a conditional use permit for on sale as well as storage in excess of 5,000 square feet. Currently, this property is under construction. I'll show you in some of the pictures. There's a building that's already being constructed there. It is within the general commercial zoning district, so on sale is a conditional use as well as any storage in excess of 5,000 square feet. To be specific, they're proposing 14,540 within a 16,520 square foot building. In regard to the on sale, I'll note this is kind of near the intersection of Elkvale and Homestead. So we're in the eastern side of Elkvale is more commercial. along Elkville, and then you get into an industrial area when you start going along Homestead, so it's kind of on that cusp of commercial and industrial. There is some residential to the east, but it is sufficiently buffered by the commercial districts along Elkville Road. The future land use here is light industrial. These two parcels are zoned general commercial. I would assume because of their size, they're smaller, they're closer to Elkville Road, and they lend more to that general commercial district as you lead into that light industrial area. Homestead is a collector street. Elkville Road is a principal arterial, so there's those roads are meant to carry commercial and industrial type of traffic. This is the proposed site plan. So there was a building permit in 2023 that approved this building just as a shell. I think the intent was to be more of shop space, as it is kind of built in a more industrial manner. Although, as I noted, it is zoned general commercial. So some of the general commercial uses have higher parking rates. So I'll just note the purpose of having the almost 2,000 square feet of the on-sale use, and it's a tap house, so it's not in conjunction with a restaurant or anything. They're doing self-pour beer and wine at that facility. So one of the suites, a little less than 2,000 square feet, would be for the purpose of on-sale. The rest of the building for storage in conjunction with the company Wood Builders. And the purpose of kind of doing both of these in conjunction together on this site makes sense because they had already started building to these plans where there's only 31 parking spaces in this lot. So when you're looking at the on-sale use, that's 10 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet. Whereas the shell building was calculated at a lower rate. I think it was closer to 2. So that storage use complements the on-sale in a way. So that's why staff is recommending approval for both the storage in excess of 5,000 square feet as well as the on-sale use. This just denotes the different sizes, and I will actually correct this. I think it's 177 feet long on the Wood Builder side. And you'll note they will have some storage for alcohol. The tap house is kind of just a big open area, and they do have bathrooms for that facility. Same thing, the Wood Builders would just be an open storage area for that business. This is the building that's currently under construction. We are looking to the south here. You'll notice, again, there was originally going to be a couple different suites. The reason for converting that to storage now is because of the parking is limited on that site. This is looking to the west. That's a kind of printing business, media. Now we're looking toward Elkville Road on the east side. And to the north there's Sturt Events, so there's auto kind of parts sales. And then behind the facility, you'll notice this is another light industrial area, but it is at a very different elevation. So there's not any uses that we would be concerned about in proximity. There's not, actually, I didn't find any other on-sale facilities in this area as well. So it would be bringing in an amenity to this area that does not currently exist. And with that, staff does recommend approval for both the on-sale liquor establishment as well as the storage in excess of 5,000 square feet with the stipulations noted in the staff report. And I'll stand for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I noticed there's a covered awning on the back side of that whole facility. Are they intending to use that or for outdoor seating, or what's the...
Originally, the plan was to, when they ran into the issue with the parking, that was removed from the operational plan. If there's a point where they are, I think it was, they need 24 parking spaces, but have 31. So I would have to do the calculation to see if they might be able to use that in the future. They could come back for an amendment if the parking rate is complementary to that. But they're limited on the on-sale use because of the parking.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is the wood business. So these are two separate entities.
Correct.
So they're not going to store any alcohol in that side. It's just going to be for that business, the wood products.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to clarify that because when I first read it, I wasn't sure. So-
Yeah, it's weird. It's a combo, two separate uses being approved under the same conditional use permit application.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Thank you.
Eric Heikes. Excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to give some compliments on the site and landscape plan. It was very practical, easy to read, perfectly done, I thought. Nice to see that work.
All right, anything else on the item in front of us?
No, I'll make a motion to approve
Okay,
with stipulations. Oh, they don't have any.
yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah, there is.
Vince made a motion to approve with stipulations. Is there a second to his motion? Mike Gallagher made the second. Any discussion on the motion to approve? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to the end of the agenda. Any items to add, Vicki?
No, I just wanted to mention that we did receive a heavy load of new submittals on our last submittal Friday. And so at your next meeting, we anticipate that it'll be a long agenda.
That's good for the community.
Absolutely.
All right, anything from the commission today? Okay, Karen made the motion to adjourn, and there we go, Mike Quasney seconded. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.